Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Grason, this is Tech with Me, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about this $500 gaming mouse, the finalmouse Starlight Achilles. Now, I guess to be fair, I should mention, this mouse MSRP is at about $190, but they only drop them in limited quantities, so it is a reseller's market, and often they can only be found for anywhere from $500 to $800 and even up. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. finalmouse as a whole is a brand unlike any other. But what makes them so special? Well, for starters, they make most of their mice out of a magnesium alloy. Yeah, that's right. This mouse is made out of metal. Now, I could be wrong on this, but I think finalmouse is the only mouse in the world made almost completely out of metal. And if that's not the case, they were definitely the first to do it. So what's so crazy about a metal gaming mouse? Especially nowadays when everybody wants the lightest mouse possible. Well, the thing is, they are. Most finalmouse mice weigh in at only 47 grams. If you're not super familiar with mice and their weight classes, let's compare this one to a couple of the more popular mice on the market right now, such as the Logitech G Pro X Superlight, which comes in at 63 grams. That's right. A mouse that's marketed as a super light mouse weighs almost 16 grams more than a mouse made out of metal. And that's not all. The SteelSeries RX 5 wireless is 74 grams. Or even the Razer Viper Ultimate, which is thought of to be a fairly light mouse, it is also 74 grams. Now, I am comparing this to other wireless mice, which usually a wireless mouse is going to be heavier because the parts inside of it to make them wireless weigh more. That being said, the finalmouse is wireless as well, so why are they able to make it so light? So let's say we take this mouse and we compare it to wired mice instead. The wired version of the Razer Viper is 69 grams, and the wired version of the RX 5 is 66. So how do they do it? How do they make their mice so much lighter than the competition? Well, to start off with, they were one of the brands that pioneered the honeycomb design that we are all super familiar with today. Now, they weren't the first. The original Thermaltake Esports Ventus was the first gaming mouse to use the honeycomb design. But from what I've found, they didn't do it to reduce the weight. They did it to make the mouse cooler to use and to reduce palm sweat. But I guess that makes sense for a lot of you guys who play competitive games, because you're all sweats, right? Of course, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. But not about Thermaltake making this mouse to reduce palm sweat. I was 100% serious about that. It was finalmouse, who I believe did it second, who came up with the idea to use this honeycomb pattern to reduce the weight. And it worked. And going back to what I said earlier, they use a magnesium alloy to build the body of this mouse, which allows it to be strong and secure even when it's thin and lightweight as possible. But after all that, why are finalmouse mice so expensive? Well, for one, they're more of a boutique brand. They don't have the mass production that brands like HyperX or Razer or Logitech might have, meaning it's more expensive for them to just manufacture the mouse in general. They MSRP at $180, which is a lot more expensive than a lot of other gaming mouse options. But if you're into competitive gaming or even just the hobby of collecting mice, I do think it's worth the price to add one of these to your collection if you can get it at MSRP. That being said, if you can't find it at MSRP, I don't know that these are worth it. Don't get me wrong, it's a nice mouse. It's a really nice mouse, and it might even be my favorite mouse that I own. But if you have to buy them at resale, they can be expensive. You can sometimes find them at a reasonable price, but it really depends on the model that you're looking for. For example, the Starlight Achilles that I have is often anywhere from $500 or more. But some of the other ones, such as the one based off of Poseidon and some of the other Greek myths, they're not quite as expensive, but they're still pricey. But even then, the reason these mice, regardless of what model you get, are so expensive is because of the limited nature of these mice. For example, I believe mine is number 309 out of only 2,500 of the Starlight Achilles mice ever made. Sometimes it's crazy to me to think that there are less than 3,000 other people that own a mouse like this, or at least the one that I have. Especially considering all of my other mice are large brand mice, like the Razer Basilisk Ultimate, the Razer Death Adder V3, or even the Logitech G502s. There's probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of other people that own these mice. And just like anything, if something's limited in quantity and people want it, the price will inflate, and that's why these are so expensive, because they're very limited and a lot of people want them. Now, I will say, I've read a lot of complaints about the build quality of these mice and how nice they truly feel to use outside of how lightweight they are. Some people complain about the way it clicks, and others complain about the scroll wheel, saying it doesn't feel very sturdy. Now, for me personally, I haven't had really a whole lot of issues. Maybe I just got one of the really good mice out of the batch, but mine works perfectly fine. It feels sturdy and it works great. I've had absolutely zero issues with double clicking, and I've never felt like the body was flexing or moving under the weight of my hand. But what's the best part about this mouse? Maybe even better than how lightweight it is? The battery life. It is fantastic. As a matter of fact, next to the ultra lightweight of the mouse, I would say that the battery life is the second best thing about this mouse. finalmouse estimates the battery on these mice to be about 160 hours of continuous use. Now, I've never measured the longevity of these batteries to be 100% exact, but I will say that if this isn't true, I would be really surprised. I've used this mouse as a daily driver for a really long time now, and I've rarely had to charge it. As a matter of fact, I would say that I have to charge it at most every 3 weeks, but honestly, it's probably a lot closer to once a month. On top of that, they charge pretty quickly. I don't really like having cables around. I'm a huge fan of wireless devices. So when I do have to charge this mouse, I rarely leave it on the charger for longer than an hour or so if I'm using it while it charges, and I get 3 to 4 weeks out of the battery. Long story short, the battery life on this thing is fantastic. Part of the reason I started using this over my Razer Basilisk Ultimate, which I thought was a great mouse, is that I got tired of having to charge my Razer Basilisk every 3 days. Performance-wise, I haven't had any issues at all with this thing. The sensor feels accurate, it works when I need it to, and I've never felt a noticeable input lag or felt like I had a lack of accuracy while using it. And as far as I'm concerned, that's all that matters to me. But that's it for this one, guys. What do y'all think of finalmouse? Do you think it's worth $500 to buy it at resale if you had to? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you guys very kindly for watching. My name's Grason, and this has been Tech with me.